Now my grain on this is going in such a way that I can come in toward the center. If I try to come out the other way, I'm going to split the grain, so that's a good thing. So I can start with a chisel and just very carefully just kind of take off those little hide bits on there from the bandsaw. If you did this on a jigsaw and you're careful, you'll have almost nothing to sand. That gives you a really nice cut, but on the bandsaw, it's unavoidable. So I'll get that pretty close by just planing that down, paring it down. And like I said before, you really want to pay attention to the top and the bottom of this thing, because if you want a gap, it's going to be on the bottom. Somebody suggested to me the other day that you can actually take this, and if you have a disc sander, and you can put it right on there and clean it. It's a little tricky getting into the corner. So the other way I'll finish this off is I'll take a file and just very easily across there, just get that nice and crisp, and try to have it intersect right at that point in the middle. As I am going along, this is why I have this little square, and this is why I mark the face. So always off the top, I want to make sure, look at the light, I want to go up and down that line and make sure that's just dead square. What happens with the files sometimes is you'll get a little bulge in there, which will result in a gap at the top. So you want to make sure you don't have any of that. You could actually take a little chalk or something, rub it, a little chalk or graphite, and rub it along there, and you're going to see any high spots. You really want to take your time, because this is you're going to transfer this to make your mortise. So if this isn't right, then you can't have a good result. So I'll find my original one. This is the one that I cleaned up originally. I already looked at this one. It's pretty square along the edge. Everything looks good. I have a nice intersection here. Pretty happy with this. Okay, so now once I'm ready to go with this butterfly, I'm going to decide where to locate it, and I want to center my intersection of the bow tie on the crack, so you can maximize it. So I'm basically, whichever way the crack is going, I'm going to pretty much go perpendicular to it, not necessarily perpendicular to the end of the board. Okay, so I want to go across, I think. So let's say I like that spot. I'm going to hold it very firmly, and with my knife, I'm just going to lightly score it. I'm not going to try to really make a big cut in here, because what that always results into is something's got to give and you'll go off. So you want to just lightly score it, and that gives you your best hope of the knife not going off the track, you know, with sometimes the grain of the wood wants to pull it away. And I try to be nice and careful at my corners so I don't get a lot of overcut on there. You know, sometimes when you see hand-cut dovetails, there's a thing where they kind of leave that knife mark in there, and that's part of the whole deal. Try not to do it on this, because it's a finished top. You want it to be nice and clean. Now this knife cut has two purposes. One is that it's the you're doing it, you know, for yourself. You want to really take your time with this. Don't rush it. So now I have a nice crisp line there. If I want, I could rub a little chalk dust in there. I could take a fine pencil and accentuate it. That's what these 5mm pencils are great for. They just sit right in that groove. But the knife line has the advantage of letting you, at the end, you got a place to register your chisel. It fits right in there. So you got it, okay? So the pencil, the purpose of the pencil line is so I can see it to do the next step with routing it. So with the router, I'm going to hog out most of this to depth. So what I want to do is I want the depth of this with a little bit of it sticking up. Whatever I do, I don't want it too deep, because now I'd have to level out that whole thing. Not a good thing. If you're just sticking it in the bottom of the piece and it's just there to hold it together, I guess it doesn't matter too much. But what we're going to do is we're going to put this in with a little bit proud, and then we're going to level it off, and we can plane it, sand it off when we're all done. So now forget about what this was, what it was shaped like. This is my final one. If I cut it, if I'm a little off when I cut it, and when I clean it up, if it's a little small, it doesn't matter because this specific piece is going in this hole and this one is here to mark it. So if I had multiples, I'd want to number them or whatever. And again, I'm marking the top, so remember, because again, if this is off in any way, I want to keep it going. The other thing I want to do is orient it because this might not be exact this way. So I'm just going to put, let's say an X here and an X here. Okay, so I know that this is going to be, I can't turn it around and I can't flip it over. Okay, so the next step is kind of the most skill-oriented part of this, is that I have to route out as much of this as I can, get as close to the line as I can, and not go over whatever I do. If I go under, I can always clean that up. I'm going to take my specific piece, I'll put it on here and set my depth. I'm leaving just under a 1/16 on there. I can always make it deeper, okay? So I just put it right on there, I eyeball it from the side, I got my depth, everything's set. So if I have a plunge router, obviously you're plunging. Without a plunge router, I'm going to just kind of tilt it in, make sure I don't let it run away on me, but it's a small bit. It's not very deep, so that shouldn't be a problem. I need some good light, I need the good glasses on, and I need to kind of get down so I can see what I'm doing. That's the only tricky part there. If you're not careful, it'll go flying away on you. So I'm just going to hog it out. I need one of those Festool routers with a vacuum on it. It's your preference. You might want to route as close to the line all the way around and then hog out the middle. I like to work my way up to the line. If you're doing any more thickness than this, you might, a couple passes is a good idea. By pressing down very firmly, vertically, I create a lot more friction. I can control my cut when I get close to the line. I'm trying not to, when I get up to that line, I'm trying not to take more than the diameter of the bit in my cut. Keep in mind the rotation that you would normally use when you're routing, because one way is it's gonna pull it and you're gonna lose your line. So rather than take a chance of going over that line, I like to leave about this much. I'll clean this up. So I score it with my knife, and then I make a little V. Actually, I notch it out a little bit, and then if I stop at that point with my router, I know I'm good. So here's where I get in. I take that little cut that I made, and then I can just chop straight down. And this is just like chopping a mortise or a dovetail. Basically, we've created a mortise, so it's basically a dovetail in a mortise. Okay, so I got my X and my X. I'll line these up. See how it looks? It already looks pretty good. Now the thing about this is, once you go about halfway down, you're not getting this thing out. If it really is a good fit, and I can feel it's going to go down, but it's resisting just a little bit. So that's, and I'm looking around here. I'm pretty happy with it. So now I'm just gonna put some glue in here. Don't have to have a whole lot. You have to have a little bit of caution right here, okay? If that's too tight, it's going to break off. The best way actually is to take, a bigger piece here. Okay,